Welcome to the Travelman Podcast. I'm your host, Ben, and if you're joining me for the first time, then I say hello and thank you for listening and thanks for joining. And if you're a returning listener, then I say thanks again for returning. On today's episode, I'll be chatting about my upcoming holiday. Yeah, that's right, Travelman is back holidaying. Well, maybe. I'm absolutely not sure. So I may be trapped again in this state of mind by our beloved leader who believes that COVID is going to go on a rampage again, probably. You never know, I guess. But he does believe, Daniel Andrews is the man, and he does believe, though, that it's in our best interests to keep us locked in this state. Hopefully not, because I can't be locked down again. I need to travel. I have a really cool itinerary that I'm going to probably discuss here. Well, I will discuss it on the podcast today. It's going to be quite wild in more ways than one, and I just can't wait. So stay put. Well, hello there. Last time I chatted to you, I said how COVID was all but maybe eliminated from my state of Victoria. Well, I can say that I am clearly wrong because every returning resident from overseas or a business person or a new Victorian that's coming from another state or other than Victoria could quite possibly be carrying the virus. I don't know if that made any sense just then, but it made sense in my own head. And yeah, so recently we've had the Australian Open, so that's actually done and dusted now. It's all wrapped up. But out of the 600 players and stuff, I think it was 600. Could have been 800, not sure. But someone, I believe, had the virus. They arrived here on a plane, and then the virus spread to someone in quarantine. And I think it was maybe even a security guard that then spread it. It became one COVID case and then became 17 COVID cases. So our good Premier, who I mentioned earlier, Premier Dan, President Dan Andrews, he decided to do a sharp, quick lockdown called a circuit breaker, which consisted of about 5 days of us not being able to leave our homes other than go to work. And you could only work if you're an essential worker, so you could go out, do your shopping, go to the doctors, grab some food, but we did have a 5K zone implemented on us, so it means we couldn't go further out of 5Ks, and that was for 5 days. We had that recently for months on end, and that was absolutely terrible. So if you couldn't work from home, you had to work, but then there's a caveat there because you could only work if you're essential, and myself and a lot of other people aren't essential. So businesses closed down like cafes and stuff like that, and restaurants have closed down. People have lost money. I know that this little quick circuit break was also over Valentine's Day, so a lot of restaurants had to chuck out millions of dollars of food that wasn't going to get eaten, and apparently it was even too late for that food to be gifted to anywhere else. That was bad. Florists also lost a lot of money. Man, it was bad time to do a lockdown over Valentine's Day. I also couldn't get to my friend's wedding, so my friends had their wedding on that Saturday night, and the lockdown started on the Friday night, I think at midnight, something like that. So all the weddings that were due, which would have been heaps because February the 14th being the Sunday, Valentine's Day, a lot of people want to get married on Valentine's Day, which I totally understand, even though I'm not one of those blokes that enjoys Valentine's Day, and neither does my wife. She doesn't really celebrate it. Well, we don't celebrate it at all. But yeah, so this circuit breaker really locked down and damaged Melbourne in the sum of millions and millions of dollars, and it's bad enough that we were already locked down last year, but to think that we would get locked down again after only, say, 17 cases, it's just a bit crazy. Look, I understand President Dan is just trying to, look after us. I feel comforted by his lockdowns. I don't. But yeah, we still have a 5 limit person per household, to come over to our house, visitors. So that, I think, will be lifted this coming Friday. So if you're listening to the podcast when it's released, it's this Friday when it's supposed to be lifted. And if you're listening in 2025, let me know if COVID's still around. I'm sure it is. So yeah. And, on the tennis, I don't really follow tennis that much. I didn't really watch it. I was against it going ahead. I thought about this and I thought, why is it okay for tennis players and their staff, family and friends and blah, 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 to come into Melbourne right from overseas, and there's still 30,000 plus Aussies still trapped abroad that can't come back into Australia. Yet we're letting in all these tennis players and their staff to come into Australia and pretty much play a sport. And even the tennis was thought of as an essential job, which is just a load of poopy. So we are literally drip feeding Aussies back into Australia now. And we're also making sure that check for the virus. They're also sitting out their 14-day quarantine when they arrive home. Yet, if you're a tennis player, a Hollywood blockbuster actor, or you're an international celebrity, or a mover or shaker, then don't worry about it. You're allowed into Australia. Yeah, you still have to do your mandatory 14-day lockdown, but then you're free to do whatever you like. It's like double standards, isn't it? So it's great that Australia is winning all these film contracts from Hollywood, from LA, but we have to be a bit wiser on how we treat our own people, I believe. Enough of the ranting, though. Look, let me tell you what travel I have planned for this year. So I have holidays set up. Hopefully I can get away. It's in a couple of months' time. I have exactly, 3 weeks of holiday planned. I can't wait, but I'm a little bit apprehensive too, because our Premier, President Dan, he may shut the borders down, and he can just do that instantly. As soon as he thinks, wow, COVID's just had a few cases, it's going a bit crazy, he'll just shut it down. And then the rest of the states will, shut us out of travelling into those states. So Australia's really lost the plot, I reckon, because I think it's the only country in the world that actually shuts border states on each other. Who does that? Which other country in the world does that? I can't think of one. So it's pretty crazy. And I said on the last episode of the podcast, I think it was that episode, it could have been the episode before, but I said that I really wanted to go up to the Northern Territory of Australia. I think it was the episode before. I'm doing it. I'm going to fly up to Darwin. I'm going to spend 7 nights in Darwin, and I can't wait. I have a few day trips that I want to do in Darwin. Not sure if I'll pay for them, like as in pay a bit of money, jump on a bus, wake up really early, come back late to the resort, but you would have seen something great. I don't know if I can maybe do that by myself, like hire a car or something. So one of the trips that I am considering is worth about $284 per traveller, so it's pretty expensive. But what it is, it's an all-day trip to Kakadu, and it's set up by this company called Viator, which people have probably heard of Viator before. Viator, a great travel company. But look, it'll be an early start, but I think it's going to be worth it. Now, Kakadu, if you are unfamiliar, it's in a significant Aboriginal area. There's beautiful wetlands, rivers, there's rock structures, rock pools, there's wildlife and artwork, and it's located approximately 3 hours drive southeast of Darwin. So if you don't know anything about Kakadu, then you're missing out. If you ever get a chance and you're outside of Australia and we open our borders to you international travellers again, you have to go to Darwin and check out Kakadu at least. There's so much to do. Now, Kakadu is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is some details I ripped off a website, so just bear with me for a second. This website says that you can explore the Kakadu National Park and learn about Australia's Aboriginal heritage on a full-day tour of Darwin, and you'll see highlights of the UNESCO World Heritage listed park, including ancient rock art of Ubia art, or Ubia rock art, which apparently is that really cool rock art. So I haven't seen it. There's also a Nabad lookout, a cool lookout you can view. And then they say you can take a Guliyambi cultural cruise along the East Alligator River, travelling with an Indigenous guide who stops along the way to show you the dramatic landscapes of Arnhem Land. And this $284 includes, was it $284? Yeah. This includes lunch, snacks, guide, transportation, hotel pickup and drop off. That's not too bad. It is quite expensive, but it's not too bad. And look, this is what you get for your money. So you get that Kakadu full-day tour from Darwin with the Uber rock art, Guliyambi cruise, the Arnhem Land stuff. You see ancient rock art at the Ubia Rock and Kakadu National Park, obviously, World Heritage Site, as I said before. The Aboriginal guide stuff will be cool because they'll give you some really great information, probably better information than what I would get if I was just trying to read up and I was by myself. And that cruise along the East Alligator River sounds really nice. And also at Arnhem Land, apparently we can watch a cultural demonstration, which includes a guide, transportation, lunch, snacks, hotel pickup, blah, 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 blah. So there's some cool stuff there to do at Kakadu. It sounds very interesting. It is an important place in Australia, and I believe that all Australians should go to Kakadu and check it out. But I found out that I think there's a movement a movement to maybe shut the tourists off from going to see Ubia's amazing rock art, and I think it's I think the Aborigines probably are sick of people probably littering and doing bad things there. Who knows? Maybe it's similar to what happened to Uluru, but I understand they probably have their best interests and they just want to keep it pristine, unspoiled. But I'd say now that we're not getting that many tourists, I don't know if it's wise for them to close it totally because they're probably going to lose money. I don't know why it sounded so funny when I said money. So I would actually be really upset if I couldn't see Ubia's amazing rock art. So that's why a trip to Kakadu is essential to me. I'm also considering another full-day trip to this place called Litchfield National Park, which is about 2-hour drive south from Darwin. And that's a great national park with heaps to do. There's swimming holes to swim in. There's great nature to explore. And this tour apparently is $185 each person. Kind of seems worth it when you get to explore the wilderness of Litchfield National Park. You got a full day there. You can visit the Florence and Wangi Falls. You cool off with a dip in Bully Rockhole. And you can even snap a few photos of some gigantic cathedral and magnetic termite mounds. That would be cool. And you'll also be enjoying a crocodile spotting cruise along the Adelaide River. And you hear about the reptiles from the wildlife guide, includes lunch, snacks, croc cruise, hotel pickup, drop-off. There's a lot to do there at Litchfield National Park. I'd love to do all that stuff. So in Darwin, we'll be staying at a pretty cool resort. It's called the Mindil Beach Casino Resort. You may have heard of it. You may have not. It's got a great pool. It's got a great view of, is it the Darwin Harbour or something like that? As well as doing those 2 little day trips to Kakadu and Litchfield, which we probably will end up doing by ourselves. We also plan on doing a heap of swimming and reading by the pool, which are 2 of our favourite things, but unfortunately, the swimming has to be kept to the pool, as the sea in Darwin is full of sharks and crocs. So unless you're a German tourist that's not reading all the signs, then you're probably the only one swimming out in that sea. There are a few stories of people going missing actually in that water there because they don't listen to they don't read the precautions, do they? Oh well. We'll also be doing the Darwin night markets, which run apparently every Thursday and Sunday nights, and that depends on the season, but we'll definitely be doing that. We've got enough time to be able to do the night market on 2 nights, so that's cool. as well as going to Darwin for 7 nights. We'll be flying from Darwin, which is in the top end of Australia, across to tropical Cairns, which is in Queensland, well, far north Queensland. And that's located within distance of Australia's most famous reef in the world, the Great Barrier Reef. I may do the reef this time. I'm not 100% sure. Usually every time I'm in northern Queensland, I do a little bit of the snorkeling, but we'll see. We don't plan on spending too long. When we get to Cairns, we're probably only staying, well, we are just staying 1 night. I think it's at the Hilton. The following morning, we'll be making our way to Fitzroy Island by boat. Fitzroy Island's just tucked around the corner, south of Cairns, but it's a beautiful place. And we'll be there for a couple of nights. Then we'll be making our way further up to Port Douglas, where we're staying at a really nice resort. Port Douglas is a really nice beachy type of resorty type place. It's quite beautiful. It's near Cape Tribulation. Well, Cape Tribulation's north of Port Douglas, but there's a lot to do there. You can take a boat to the reef. It's probably one of the best places to take the boat to the reef is Port Douglas. I think the proximity to some of the best reefs in the Great Barrier Reef are from Port Douglas. So go to Port Douglas. It's a beautiful town. There's many great eating options there. It's somewhere that I really, really, really love. We got 5 nights at someone's Airbnb. So if you want to find out where I'm staying, then look up booking.com and type in Sonia's at Ramada Resort, free Wi-Fi and 2 push bikes. Yep, we get access to 2 pushies. And I can't believe you can buy rooms at resorts. So one part of me would like to own my own room at a resort, but which resort? Not sure. Hey, maybe let me know by a private message in Instagram or something like that, or a message on the Travelman Podcast group page, or even email me at travelmanpodcast@gmail.com and let me know what resort you would choose from if you could buy a room at a resort. Which resort would you choose? This is a fun little thing I just thought about. So maybe I can get someone a Travelman Podcast t-shirt printed and sent to them for the response that I enjoy the most. So maybe do that. Have a think about it. Send me some messages about what room you would like to buy in a resort. So there you go. And then kind of cool. Back onto Fitzroy Island, we've booked a beachfront bungalow accommodation, and Fitzroy Island is surrounded by a bunches of reefs. It's a boat ride, which is about 45-minute. I think it's about a 45-minute boat ride, and this will be a nice place just to hang out and chill. There's not a whole heap to do on Fitzroy Island, I guess. You've got your stand-up paddleboarding. I have seen that in the brochure or something online that you can do that. You got the swimming, you got the snorkeling. There's walks to go on. There's a hike or two. You've also got the Turtle Rehabilitation Centre, which looks really interesting. I'd be up to see how they transform and rehabilitate some injured turtles, and I think you may be able to even see them release the turtles back into the wild, and that's pretty cool. Now, there's a beach there called Nudie Beach, which is not a nudist beach, so unfortunately I won't be able to run around frolicking nude at Nudie Beach, but it is said to be Australia's second most beautiful beach. So that's pretty cool. Now, I can see myself just relaxing there, reading books, swimming. I'm definitely going to do some snorkeling on Fitzroy Island. In Port Douglas, so once we're finished at Fitzroy Island, we'll probably just hire a car in Cairns and drive up to Port Douglas. Port Douglas is about an hour's drive from Cairns, so that should be a nice drive. You do go straight up north, and there are signs for cassowaries around, so that's really cool. Cassowaries are a bird. The cassowary is the size, I think it's the size of an emu. I think they're quite an ancient bird. I'm not sure if they're prehistoric or they're still left over from the Jurassic period or whatever, like the crocodiles. But I do know that they are deadly if they do try and attack you, because they've got this huge kind of head plate, or this huge, I don't know how you would explain it, but if they ram at you with this head plate type thing that pops out of their head, it can do you quite a lot of damage. So we've got 5 nights in Port Douglas, and if you don't know, Port Douglas is right near Cape Trib, or up as far north as possible as you can get on the eastern side or eastern seaboard of Australia. So it's pretty far up. So we may or may not plan to do the Great Barrier Reef this time, only because, like I said earlier, I've done it so many times, and there is a lot to do in Port Douglas. But we might go back to the Daintree Forest. That would be pretty cool. I really enjoyed doing the great boardwalk I did last time I think it's called the Daintree Rainforest Skywalk. And apparently, I was reading it's 11 meters high. It actually felt a lot higher than that, but it's really cool boardwalk above the ground, through the forest, through the tropical forest, a lot of nature and flora and fauna and stuff. You can see all that stuff. It's really, really cool. Also, wouldn't mind maybe doing another cruise down the Daintree River to see if I can see some crocodiles. I really love crocs, and I do love doing little boat cruises down Daintree River. What I did love doing, though, is airboating in Florida. That was bloody amazing. Now, apparently you could even do airboating in Darwin. I was talking to a mate about it, so he thinks you can do it up in Darwin, which, if that's possible, I'm probably going to do it up in Darwin. Ha ha ha. After Port Douglas, we go down to Brisbane, where we have 7 nights with our best friends. So we'll be staying at their house. They've recently moved up, actually middle of last year, to Brisbane from Melbourne. So hopefully this all works out, because every weekend, nearly without fail, we watch a film with them. Occasionally, one of us will fall asleep or be distracted on our phone, but that's what makes this whole watching movie thing interesting, because you never know which person is going to fall asleep. Like, for instance, I was the one that fell asleep last time. I think I lasted 5 minutes in the film because I had such a long, tough day, and the film didn't really inspire me. Thank you, Daisy. So, oh well, I look forward to every weekend just hanging out with those 2 people. They're beautiful people. And if you're wondering, Stan, who is the other half of Daisy, Stan and Daisy, our best friend, Stan has been on my podcast. He was one of the first ones to come on, and he spoke about his travels in Pakistan and other areas like that. Maybe it wasn't Pakistan, maybe it was top of India, I forget where it was, but it was a really good episode. He was trekking around the Himalayas and so forth. So if you haven't listened to that episode, then go and listen to Stan and I talk about his travels. Stan's a really great guy. I respect him a lot, and I love Daisy a lot too. They're great people. So we've got a bit of a process on how we watch videos together. We ring each other on WhatsApp via video call, and we'll discuss a film. Like throughout the week, we discuss what film we want to watch. Everyone takes it in turn. And then we watch the film while watching each other on WhatsApp video call and talking about funny stuff. Sometimes we interrupt the film. And I've even done a Excel spreadsheet on all the films that we watched last year with all our ratings, because we all rate the films as well, even our own. So this means a lot to us to be able to go and see our friends up in Brisbane. And when I say us, I mean my wife. There's a few other things I just want to say. Now, if you've enjoyed what I've said about my trip and you are now inspired you to do a bit of traveling also, well, I'm telling you that you should travel. You really should get out there. Yes, in Victoria, and I'm actually being more specific to Victorians and Australians in general, not the international people that listen to the podcast. I'm talking about Australia, which at the moment has only a few cases of COVID and it's in quarantine at the moment. I'm saying that if you have the opportunity to travel as a person, just travel, because we never know when we're going to get locked down again. And that's why I am so excited about my trip in middle of April, late April. I need to get out of this state. I'm in Victoria, if you're wondering, and Victoria has been one of the hardest hit states in the world, as in locking us down, mask wearing being mandatory, all that type of stuff. We really feel like we need to get out. We should travel. We should support all the local businesses, even the state. Travel around your state. Invest in the local tourism industry because, you know what, it's suffering at the moment. The aviation industry is suffering. There's so many industries that need us back. We need to come back. We need to travel again. That's probably it. That's all I got to talk about. This is more so a up-to-date, like keeping you up to date. I am working a while. I will be starting to work on some show notes that I want to do. I have someone who is, Vietnamese background that's opened up like this little pop-up Vietnamese restaurant. I don't know if I've spoken about it on the podcast, and her husband's a pilot, an ex-pilot. So I think I'll be getting them on pretty soon. I really appreciate you listening today and listening to me ramble on about travel and hopefully an upcoming holiday that I'm really excited about that will probably get cancelled knowing my luck. But thanks for listening to the podcast. You can always follow me on Facebook where I have a group and page set up. I'm pretty sure I got the page. Yeah. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. So there's plenty of ways to follow me on social media, and the podcast is also on every known podcast directory. So I'm sure you'll find me somewhere. And lastly, if you haven't heard of my new podcast, Unnatural Podcasts, that I do with Steve from Thinking Sideways Podcasting, give that a listen also. It's a weekly podcast about the strange and weird in the world, and we both take it in turns to tell a story each week that's interesting and fun. So thanks again for listening. Bye.